Let me tell you about two people who are both driving the same car, living in the same city, working the same job, earning the same paycheck. Same life, same income, same expenses, same pressures. One afternoon in October, both of their cars developed the exact same problem. A brake issue that the mechanic quotes at $900 to repair. Both of them need the car to get to work. Neither repair is optional. Person one gets the call from the mechanic, exhales slowly, and says, "Okay, go ahead and fix it." They have $1,200 sitting in a dedicated savings account that exists for exactly this kind of situation. The repair happens. The car comes home that evening. They transfer $900 to the mechanic. Their emergency fund drops to $300, and they spend the next 6 weeks rebuilding it back to $1,200. Life continues essentially uninterrupted. The car repair was expensive and unwelcome. It was not a crisis. Person two gets the same call from the mechanic and immediately feels the familiar spike of financial panic that has accompanied every unexpected expense for the past 3 years. $900 is not sitting anywhere accessible. Their checking account has $243 until Friday. They call their credit card. $500 available. Not enough. They call a family member. Uncomfortable conversation. Eventually piece together the money from 3 sources. $250 on the credit card, $300 borrowed from a sibling, $350 from a personal loan app at a rate they are embarrassed to say out loud. The car gets fixed. The next 4 months are spent managing the debt and the family stress created by a single $900 expense that person one absorbed without disruption. Same car, same repair, same cost. Completely different financial outcomes. The only structural difference between those two outcomes was $1,000 sitting in a dedicated account. $1,000 that, before it was needed, probably felt like a modest, even underwhelming financial goal compared to the much larger savings targets and investment goals that personal finance content tends to celebrate. But in the moment of the car repair call, that $1,000 was the difference between a financial inconvenience and a financial crisis. Between a smooth month and a disrupted one, between calm and panic. The $1,000 emergency fund is not the most exciting financial goal in personal finance. It is the most important. It is the foundation that every other financial goal gets built on top of, the safety net that keeps every other system from being disrupted by the ordinary unpredictability of real life, and the single savings milestone that produces the most immediate and most dramatic improvement in financial resilience for the largest number of people. Today, we are going to build it in 30 days, starting this weekend. Welcome to Clux One Finance. Let us get into it. Before we get into the week-by-week plan, let us spend a few minutes understanding the psychology of the emergency fund, because the psychology is the reason most people have not built one yet, despite knowing they should. It is not primarily an information problem. Most financially aware adults understand that they should have an emergency fund. It is a motivation and prioritization problem rooted in 2 specific psychological dynamics. The first dynamic is present bias, the well-documented human tendency to value immediate rewards more than equivalent future rewards, and to discount future risks more heavily than present ones. An emergency fund is a future-oriented savings goal whose benefit is experienced only when something goes wrong, which may or may not happen in any given month. Spending the same money on something enjoyable right now produces an immediate, certain, positive experience. The comparison between a certain present reward and an uncertain future benefit systematically favors the present reward for most people most of the time, which is why money that should go to an emergency fund often finds its way to current consumption instead. The second dynamic is goal abstraction. $1,000 feels like a large abstract number when it is presented as a savings target rather than as a concrete, achievable sequence of weekly actions. People who have tried to save money and failed tend to approach it as a vague aspiration rather than a specific plan with defined actions and defined timelines. The aspiration does not produce behavior. The plan does. And the week-by-week challenge structure we are about to build is specifically designed to convert the abstract $1,000 goal into a sequence of concrete actions that produce real progress in real time. The 30-day emergency fund challenge works by dividing the $1,000 target into 4 weekly sub-goals with specific actions assigned to each week. The sub-goals are not equal in size because the actions available in each week have different earning potential. Week 1 focuses on the immediate spending audit and account setup. Expected contribution $25 to $50. Week 2 focuses on finding hidden money in existing subscriptions, services, and forgotten accounts. Expected contribution $100 to $200. Week 3 focuses on generating additional income through selling and service. Expected contribution $300 to $500. Week 4 focuses on the final push through combined income and expense actions. Expected contribution $200 to $400. Together, these weekly contributions add up to a realistic path to $1,000 over 30 days, with significant variation based on individual starting circumstances. Week 1 begins this weekend with 2 parallel tracks. The first track is the foundation setup, which does not generate money directly, but creates the structural conditions for the rest of the challenge to work. Open a separate high-yield savings account if you do not already have one. Not a savings account at your regular bank, a separate account at an online bank, SoFi, Ally, Marcus, or whichever of the options we discussed in the HYSA video you have chosen, with the highest available APY. This account is your emergency fund home. Nothing else lives here. It is not your vacation fund. It is not your holiday shopping fund. It is not the account you dip into when the regular checking account is tight. It is the emergency fund, and it is mentally and institutionally separate from every other dollar you have. Transfer whatever you can afford from your current account into the new emergency fund account today. Do not wait until you have a round number. Do not wait until you have completed a budget review. Transfer what you can right now, even $50, even $25, because the act of making the first transfer converts the emergency fund from an aspiration into a real account, with a real balance that exists in the real world and that you can see growing. Week 3 is the income generation week, and it is where the largest single-week contributions to the emergency fund typically come from for people who are willing to invest time and energy into the challenge. The goal for week 3 is to generate $300 to $500 in additional income beyond your regular paycheck through activities you can start and complete within the week's time frame. The fastest income sources available to most people within a 7-day window fall into 3 categories: service work for immediate payment, skill-based freelancing, and platform-based gig work. Service work includes things that neighbors, local businesses, or community members will pay for immediately upon completion: lawn care, cleaning services, handyman tasks, moving help, pet sitting, babysitting, tutoring, elder care, event help, errand running. These activities require no setup beyond availability and the willingness to offer the service, generate payment immediately in cash or through payment apps, and are available in virtually every geographic area. A single weekend of focused service work at reasonable rates can generate $150 to $300 in direct payments to the emergency fund. Skill-based freelancing requires matching an existing professional skill to a paying client quickly, which is most achievable through warm network outreach rather than cold platform prospecting. Send a direct message to 5 people in your professional network, former clients, colleagues, acquaintances who run businesses, offering a specific service at a specific rate with a specific fast turnaround. Content writing, social media management, graphic design, web updates, data entry, bookkeeping, photography editing, video editing, spreadsheet work. One project at $150 to $300 completed within the week generates a meaningful emergency fund contribution with no platform fees and no cold outreach delay. Platform-based gig work, rideshare driving, food delivery, task platforms, pet care platforms, is immediately accessible for most people with a vehicle and a smartphone, pays weekly or faster through instant payment options, and can be scaled up or down based on the time available during week 3. 5 shifts of 2 to 3 hours each in the evenings or over the weekend can generate $200 to $400 depending on the platform, the market, and the hours worked. The income generated in week 3 should go directly to the emergency fund account the same day it is received or the next morning. Not to the checking account to be spent and replaced later. Directly to the emergency fund. Every dollar generated by the extra effort in week 3 that goes to the emergency fund is a dollar that exists permanently in the fund rather than temporarily in the checking account. Week 4 is the convergence week where the momentum from weeks 1 through 3 gets amplified by a final concentrated push to reach or exceed the $1,000 target. The actions in week 4 are determined by where you stand at the end of week 3. If the selling and service work of weeks 2 and 3 have generated strong results and you are approaching $800 in the fund, week 4 is primarily about confirming that the canceled subscriptions from week 1 have generated their first freed up charges and adding whatever additional service work or selling income you can generate to push over the line. If weeks 2 and 3 generated less than expected, selling was slow, service work opportunities did not materialize as quickly, week 4 requires a more aggressive approach. Return to the selling listings with price reductions to move items that did not sell at original prices. Make direct outreach calls rather than message-based contact for service work opportunities. Consider a one-time extreme expense reduction, a week of cooking exclusively at home, and eliminating all dining out and non-essential purchases. That frees up an immediate additional $50 to $100 to bridge the gap. Consider a one-time overtime shift, an extra delivery session, or any other single-day income-generating action that produces cash immediately. The $1,000 target is ambitious for 30 days on a modest income, and I want to be honest about that. Some people reading this will hit $1,000 comfortably within the timeline. Some will reach $600 or $700, which is still a profoundly meaningful financial improvement over where they started. The challenge is not about the specific number as much as it is about building the habit, the momentum, and the emergency fund infrastructure that makes the next milestone achievable. Whatever balance you have at the end of 30 days is money that was not there before, housed in a dedicated account with a clear purpose, building toward the $1,000 baseline that transforms the financial resilience of any household. Once you have hit $1,000, the emergency fund account needs to be protected from the most common thing that destroys emergency funds, which is the normalization of using it for non-emergencies. The definition of an emergency fund emergency is specific and narrow. A genuine emergency is an unexpected, necessary, non-deferrable expense that would cause meaningful financial harm if not addressed. A car repair that prevents you from getting to work. A medical expense that cannot be postponed. A home system failure that creates unsafe living conditions. A sudden income disruption that requires covering essential living expenses during a job transition. A non-emergency is anything that was predictable, plannable, or deferrable. Holiday gifts are not an emergency. A vacation is not an emergency. A sale on something you have been wanting is not an emergency. A social event that requires spending is not an emergency. The emergency fund exists for the former category exclusively, and the discipline to maintain that boundary, to sit with the discomfort of a desire to use the fund for something that does not meet the definition, is what allows the fund to be there when a genuine emergency arrives. Immediately after building the first $1,000 emergency fund, the next financial action is a question of priority. For most people, the right answer is to begin building toward a full 3 to 6 month emergency fund while simultaneously pursuing the highest priority financial goal on their list, whether that is debt payoff, investing for retirement, or another savings objective. The $1,000 fund is not the destination. It is the foundation that makes everything else possible. The first rung of a ladder that extends as far as your financial ambitions reach. Every financial goal you pursue from this point forward will be more achievable, more sustainable, and more resilient Because the $1,000 emergency fund exists beneath it. That is what you are building this weekend. Not just $1,000, a financial foundation. Start the account today. Subscribe to Clux One Finance if you have not already. Hit the bell notification. Share this with someone who does not yet have an emergency fund and needs to hear that it is achievable faster than they think. And I will see you in the next one.